How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, well, so in this episode, I thought I'd try to say something about the great Russian writer Dostoevsky and the importance that Earth, or Mother Earth, plays in his novels and in his overall message. So, in Crime and Punishment, Sonia tells Raskolnikov to kiss the earth, and then he bows down to it. And Dostoevsky writes there that he kissed the dirty earth with joy and rapture. In the Brothers Karamazov, the elder Zosima dies kissing the ground, and Alyosha in the same novel throws himself down on the earth and embraces it and waters it with his tears. And then in The Devils, we're told by one of the convent sisters that the mother of God, the hope of the human race, is the great wet Mother Earth. And I could go on and on and on, but I assume that you get the point. Dostoevsky's writings show a deep connection and reverence to the earth. He enriches his stories by images revolving around the earth and its aspects. More than this, in fact, these images, the earth, the soil, I think you could say that in some important way, they represent his ideas and his positions. In fact, I think you could argue that the earth, the archetype of the earth, is central to understanding Dostoevsky's larger view or project and what he's reacting against. Okay, well, what is he reacting against? Well, to put it simply and dogmatically, he's in a battle against the West for the spiritual direction of his homeland, Russia. He's battling the atheism, the materialism, the individualism, and the rationalism of the Westerners, themselves, of course, influenced by the earlier Renaissance and Enlightenment periods. Now, I think that ultimately, for Dostoevsky, the bulwark against this tide is Christian love. But I think that the earth, Mother Earth, is inseparable from this. Mother Earth is the healing, the cure for the Western disease that is ultimately a kind of homelessness and nihilism. Okay, but let's first look at this through the larger lens of the future versus the past, because I think it might help. So, as I've said, I think what Dostoevsky is worried about are Western ideologies, but more particularly, ideologies which look to the future, to some total utopian reform. Ultimately, this is a linear, progressive view of time, one that promises future salvation. A view of time, one might argue, that's also a product of the Enlightenment. But notice here that this is a vision of the future that really takes no account of the past. Time here is like the goddess Athena, who of course famously was born from Zeus's head, and so without a mother and without an umbilical cord. And this is the view that so many of the radical revolutionary characters in Dostoevsky's novels hold. It's a vision of the world that's completely severed from all connection with the past. One that stresses starting up everything anew, the designing of a new society from scratch, all without precedent, without the older world as its foundation and lifeline. It's the sort of vision that, to quote Protagoras, makes man the measure of all things. But Dostoevsky's warning here is that when we do this, when we forget about our past and our roots, and so not to mention our humility, we inevitably experience nothing but homelessness and spiritual impoverishment. We need the past. As the historian of religion, Eliade, argues, it's precisely by going back to our source that we are saved from nihilism. Remembering matters. True sin is forgetting. Our mothers and our fathers and our traditions and our homes and our native soil, these are all sources of the sacred. And they give us our coordinates. Suffice it to say, all the characters in Dostoevsky's novels that forget or that have no recollection of their past or are just unwilling to face the blood ties and the larger tradition and world from which they came, they all eventually suffer the fate of desacralization and meaninglessness. They all succumb to a kind of nihilism. Okay, but as I started out with, let's get to Mother Earth specifically. So why does this hold such importance for Dostoevsky? Well, let me start with a couple of quotes from the Bible first. So Genesis tells us this. It says, "The Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." And then it says that after humans spend their lives working on the land, they will return to the land. "For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return." Now, it's interesting because the term homo, human being, shares a common derivation with the word humus, which means soil or earth. Well, I don't want to press this point too far, but I think we can understand Dostoevsky when he extols the earth or the soil to be reminding us that we are not purely mechanistic or mechanical entities. That despite our hyper-technological age, we are not doorstops or piano keys, as the underground man tells us. Okay, but the symbolism of the earth is bigger than this, I think. And I think one way of coming at this is by comparing the earth, the broadness and the fecundity of the earth, with the other often typical setting in Dostoevsky's novels, namely small, dark, squalid rooms. Whether it's the hole in the wall that the underground man lives in, or Raskolnikov's shabby abode, or a dive bar, these places, they're all cramped and suffocating spaces. Now, the symbolism here is crucial, because what such places symbolize is an unhealthy condition of the soul. These characters who live in this cramped way, they're all paralyzed souls. They're souls in total isolation and solitude. Souls who can no longer communicate and relate to other people. Theirs is a space of pure interiority, and so ultimately one of pure inertia. But the earth, on the other hand, well, it symbolizes not isolation and a society of strangers, but unity and connection. Not only are we all brothers and sisters of the earth, but there's a chemical union that exists between us and the soil in our hands. Now, all of this is expansive and liberating, not constricting. It speaks of a universal communion and interconnectedness of all things. And besides this, there is also the very important aspect of regeneration. I mean, if there's one theme that pervades nearly all of Dostoevsky's novels, it's the idea of individual or personal rebirth, right? Rebirth that's made possible through compassion and through love, almost always through the compassion and love of women. Well, this is fundamentally what Mother Earth is. She is eternally regenerative. And in this way, she always holds out the hope and the promise of life. And that is what it means to worship the earth and to get down on your knees and kiss it. It means to affirm and consecrate life. Bye for now.